Good morning. Welcome to Dallas. This morning's session is all about realizing your assets, understanding the market, and then capitalizing on both. North Texas has done this so successfully, and there are many lessons to be learned for other regions and other markets. This morning we have brought together the decision makers who will help us understand the why. Why does a global company like Toyota decide to locate in a certain area? Why did a financial powerhouse like JPMorgan Chase create a huge presence here in North Texas? What was it about this region that made State Farm want to move its operations here? Get ready to hear the answers to these and other key factors for these critical decisions.
In the last 24 months, 3 major corporations have selected mixed-use projects in North Texas. These companies could have gone anywhere, but they selected the Dallas Metroplex. Toyota is the world's top automaker. JPMorgan Chase is a leading global financial services firm. State Farm is the largest insurer in the United States. Toyota and JPMorgan Chase both sought office locations that would give employees productive environments with strong amenities. Legacy West, developed by KDC, the Carahan Companies, Columbus Realty Partners, and JCPenney was the answer. The 250-acre mixed-use development, also home to FedEx Office and Liberty Mutual, is redefining corporate development in the suburbs. Along with over 5 million square feet of offices, Legacy West will include 400,000 square feet of high-end retail and restaurants, an artisan food hall, a 24-story condo tower, a 31-story residential tower, townhomes, mid-rise apartments, and 2 luxury hotels, including a Renaissance hotel. In July 2014, Toyota announced it had chosen KDC to develop its new North American headquarters at Legacy West in Plano. The state-of-the-art 2.1 million square foot, 7-building facility will bring all of Toyota's operations under one roof in an inspiring and collaborative environment. The headquarters will be completed in mid-2017. In May 2016, KDC began construction on JPMorgan Chase's 1.4 million square foot office complex at Legacy West. Chase chose Dallas's northern suburbs to consolidate its North Texas operations into a single office complex. The 6-building campus will be completed in the fourth quarter of 2017. CityLine is one of the largest mixed-use projects in the U.S. This 186-acre transit-oriented development is home to State Farm and Raytheon. Developed by KDC, CityLine also includes dining and retail anchored by Whole Foods, and a loft hotel, wellness offices, 1,000 apartments, and another 1,000 under construction. When complete, CityLine will have 5 million square feet of office space, nearly 4,000 residential units, over 60 dining and service retail establishments, 2 hotels, a movie multiplex, and 2 parks connected to existing hike and bike trails. 30,000 people will live and work at CityLine. In April 2013, KDC began construction at CityLine on 3 office towers to be leased by State Farm. The Class A towers consist of 13, 15, and 21-story buildings with 5 levels of parking and 70,000 square feet of retail and restaurants. With a 4th office tower now complete, State Farm now occupies 2.1 million square feet of space at CityLine. Today, we are fortunate to have representatives from Toyota, JPMorgan Chase, and State Farm joining us. Cheryl Hughes is Chief Human Resources Officer for Toyota Motor North America. She leads the team responsible for consolidating Toyota's U.S. operations into one Toyota. David Arena is Head of Global Real Estate for JPMorgan Chase. He manages the firm's global real estate portfolio with more than 7,400 properties and over 80 million square feet of space. Rod Huff is Vice President of Operations for State Farm. He is responsible for compensation and benefit programs for the company's 70,000 employees and 18,000 agents. Our program moderators are former Cowboys quarterback turned real estate executive Roger Staubach and KDC CEO and Dallas's busiest corporate build-to-suit developer, Steve Van Amburgh. Please join them in welcoming our distinguished panelists.
Are we supposed to all stand up?
Thank you. Okay. Well, I get the privilege to welcome everyone here to Dallas, Texas. It's a honor to be with everyone here today and also to share the dais with Steve. We will be the moderators with this great panel. And I've been in Dallas since 1969. I went to the U.S. Naval Academy, spent 4 years in the Navy. We had 3 little girls born in the Navy. We added 2 more on Texas soil. They all speak Texanese. We decided to stay. We have 15 grandkids. I was an only child, so we need event planners when we have little birthday parties that are, there's either a game or a birthday every day. But this is our home, Dallas, Texas, and we sure welcome you all to Dallas. It's been fun living here, and it's also a pleasure to be with Steve Van Amburgh. Steve is CEO and president of KDC since 2001. He's been responsible for over 133 build-to-suit office and industrial projects. And then I was just going to give a couple notable examples of some of their clients. Of course, Toyota, which is on the stage, State Farm, JPMorgan Chase, FedEx, Raytheon, Comcast, NBC Universal, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Liberty Mutual, and Fluor Corporation. So that's quite a resume. A great guy, a great friend, and it's going to be fun doing the panel moderation here. Thanks, Steve.
Well, thank you very much, Roger. We've been doing business with Roger since he started the Staubach company back in the early 80s. And Roger owned that company for roughly 25 years until he sold it to JLL. And if you look throughout the JLL footprint, there's a lot of leadership that came out of and was sort of educated through the Staubach company, and that there isn't a finer man in Dallas and Fort Worth than Roger Staubach, and what a privilege to have him here with us today. The first thing I'd like to do, these are 3 really great people, and I'd like if you all would take a second. David, why don't you start, and
Sure.
Let's go to Rod and Cheryl and share with us a little bit about you and your background and what's going on with your company.
Sure. Well, thanks, Steve, and thanks, Roger. And thanks to Cheryl and Rod. Really appreciate being here. It's a privilege to be with all of you this morning. My name is David Arena. I'm responsible for global real estate at JPMorgan Chase. What does that mean at JPMorgan? We have 250,000 people in 60 countries and 225 cities. And my job with my team is to provide a house for them. So our house is about 80 million square feet, cuts across 7,500 properties. Those are data centers, retail sites, office sites. My personal journey is I've been on all sides of the business. I started with Tishman Speyer Properties many years ago. I spent 7 or 8 years with them. I spent 10 years with Morgan Stanley. I spent a decade between Grubb & Ellis and Jones Lang LaSalle, and I've been with JPMorgan for the last 6 years.
Thanks. Good morning. My name is Rod Hoff, and I'm also pleased to be here with you today, and I want to take a moment to thank Steve and Roger and the panel for sharing this opportunity. And just to give you a sense of my role at State Farm, I've been with State Farm for 30 years, and primarily in the finance and the human resources areas. My responsibilities are for the compensation and benefit programs at State Farm, as well as for the recruiting function at State Farm. So my job is to get our associates there and then to keep them happy, essentially. So I'm based in our Bloomington headquarters in Bloomington, Illinois. So I have to say go Cubs real quick in there. So there's a lot of excitement in Bloomington right now. But we're just pleased to be here. We're excited about the opportunity to leverage the talent that's available here in North Texas.
Great. I'm Cheryl Hughes, and as we saw in there, the Chief Human Resources Officer. Really happy to be here. Really excited to be on the panel with you guys. I've been with Toyota for just over 16 years, and my background is mostly in human resources. Toyota in North America has over 40,000 team members across North America, of which about 4,000 will be in the Dallas, Plano area. Although I've been in human resources for a long time, I actually started this project from the very beginning. So before we even thought about where we wanted to relocate our headquarters or how we wanted to bring things together, I was on a small team of about 5 to 6 people who were in charge of doing that. So I'm really excited about it. I'm originally from Minnesota, but then moved to California many, many years ago. And my husband, I've been married for about 30 years, and we are huge, huge sports fans. Not Cubs. No, I'm okay.
Not Steelers, too, I hope.
Oh, heavens, no.
LA Dodgers.
LA Dodgers. I moved here 2 years ago. I was one of the pioneers who had moved here to Plano 2 years ago. That's when we opened up our temporary office here. I'm still Dodger fan, LA team fans, but I'm slowly getting to be Texas fans, rooting for the Cowboys, only when they don't play my Minnesota Vikings. But I'm very excited to be here. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
I told Cheryl about the Hail Mary pass when we beat the Vikings. Some of you are too young to remember that, I guess. 1975, by the way. It was.
He reminds me it was against Minnesota.
It was against Minnesota. 21-17. I'll never forget it.
I completely forgot.
Well, I get the privilege to ask the first question. And why North Texas, and what are the attributes that really gave you the thinking to come here? We can start with David. You want to?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a really good question, Roger. So the question is, why North Texas? I'd say for JPMorgan, we've been here 100 years. I think last year we celebrated our 100th anniversary. So we love Texas, we love Dallas, and we love North Dallas as well. We have 800 branches in the state, maybe 250 in Dallas, the Dallas Metroplex. We have 25,000 people in the state of Texas. We have about 13,000 people in Dallas itself. So our question was a little bit different. We have 13,000 people in Dallas. We have something like they're spread across 16 sites. And so really our issue was our opportunity was we had a consolidation strategy. And consolidation for us, and I think for people in general, is really has a lot of benefits. One of the benefits clearly of being together is career opportunities for people, better mobility inside of a company like JPMorgan. It was also great to have people in one location, a little easier to manage, much better leadership. We were able, by consolidating, to save a fair amount of money and then to invest that back into the facilities for people, to create modern, healthy, amenity-rich facilities. And we looked around for quite some time. We looked in many other locations around the United States. In the United States, we have about 12 cities where we have more than 6,000 or 7,000 people in a hub. So we could have grown anywhere, but we decided this was a great place and a great state to be. It's got all the right stuff. Truth be told, I'm in the real estate business, and these look like real estate events, but they're really all about people. And when you come to Dallas, you cannot help but be impressed by the quality and the caliber of the folks that are here. They are earnest, they are eager, they have high EQ, they have high IQ, and this is a place when you shake somebody's hand, it actually means something.
Rod?
Yeah, so let me jump in. David hit some really key points that I think are relevant for State Farm as well. We have a legacy within this part of the country as well, and we've had about 2,000 employees in the North Texas area for a number of years. And as we started looking at potential sites to create more consolidated operations, we heard from those folks that are in North Texas already about how much they enjoy working and living here, and the quality of our employees there has been outstanding. And so we're now expanded to about 8,000 employees in North Texas, with potentially a couple more thousand yet to come. And there were a number of factors. Certainly the folks that are here today that have been with us is part of the factor and the quality of those individuals, but we knew the quality of the workforce was a significant opportunity here. But part of it is the amenities. It's the transportation accessibility. We have a direct flight, believe it or not, out of Bloomington, Illinois, right into Dallas, and so that's a huge advantage for us. Just the opportunity to leverage the educational systems and partner in the community, and lots of opportunities for us to build partnerships and to develop and train our employees. And so the amenities, the environment, the opportunity for our employees to get engaged in a community that they can feel very comfortable with and feel welcomed. And that's a story that we've heard over and over and over from our new associates, is how welcome they feel. And in this past summer, our folks got involved in their first corporate challenge in this area, and what an exciting opportunity to become engaged in the community. So those kinds of amenities, the community feel that people have always valued here, was a big part of the reason we came to the Dallas area.
So for us, and you're going to hear, I think our stories are very similar, don't you think?
Agreed.
For us, it's a little different. We do have a presence here in Texas. We have Dan Friedkin and Gulf States Toyota is down in Houston. And then we also have our San Antonio plant that is in building our Tacomas and our Tundras. We say that there's a Texas Toyota vehicle born every minute. That's how busy they are down there. But for us, when we went to look, we actually had 10 to 12 factors, very similar to a lot of what you're saying. It was the education, the transportation availability. For us, we even met with the Dallas airport to see about flights to Japan, because that's important for us, as well as different places. But we were also bringing our headquarters together, so we needed to find a place that had affordable housing, a moderate cost of living, and really just a diverse atmosphere. Really, when you look at the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, there's such diversity of things to do. There's diversity of people. There's diversity of talent, which is really important for us, as we're going to be, hiring a little over 1,000 people when we come here. And as the other thing is that we wanted also a place where there were a lot of other corporate headquarters, not only for the availability of talent that we'll share, but also we have spouses, team members, and family members coming that are also going to be looking for jobs, because we expected quite a few of our team members to be coming with us. And so we wanted to make sure that it was a big enough, diverse enough area that could really meet the needs. And I just want to echo, and I'll probably say it about 10 times on here, the welcome that we've received from Dallas, and the communities, the business leaders, and the people has been phenomenal.
I've got a question, and actually it's a little bit of a comment, and then you all can all respond. The Toyota facility is a little over 2 million square feet. The State Farm campus is a little over 2 million square feet, and David is a little over 1 million square feet with the capacity to grow to 2 million square feet. Those are the three largest projects that I've ever witnessed or had the privilege of working on. And they all came to be because of a corporate culture, philosophical need. And I think it's important from that philosophical standpoint that each of you all share. David did already a little bit, but why did you bring everybody together? Rod, why did you all change your operating platform to have a mixed-use, collaborative, very flexible, nice workplace that's coupled with mixed uses of residential and retail? You want to go first? Yeah.
Sure. So I sound pretty small. They got 2 million, and we're 1 million. So.
You got the chance to grow.
Got it. So I think I said it before, ours was a consolidation strategy. We've been doing it all over the world. We've been consolidating folks over the last couple of years, taking a lot of expense out of our run rate, up to $500 million a year in reduction in cost. So it can be a very powerful consolidation for shareholders. But more important, the benefits are directly to the people. And the folks that are fortunate enough to be in these large hubs, they really get the best of all possible worlds. From a physical perspective, they get modern, healthy workplaces. In Legacy West in particular, not only do they get new workspaces, flexible, as you might say, with a lot of amenities in the building, but right across the street, literally just a walk away, is this real urban feel, shops, residential, hotels, right across the street. So you kind of have an urban feel in a suburban context, which is rare. Most everybody in this room is in the real estate business, and you probably know more about this than I do, but it's rare in a suburban setting to get an urban feel. So for us, it was really the amenities that made it, really great government down here, terrific schools, great places to live. So it was, in the end, it looks like a real estate event. It's all about people.
Yeah. Rod?
And I agree. It is all about people, and it's about having the talent you need to achieve what you're trying to achieve as an organization in the future. And so for State Farm, the idea of a significant hub, and we're creating similar facilities in the Phoenix and the Atlanta area. The idea of such a significant physical presence is a real shift from us historically. So our operation has been set up in the past with 28 operation centers across the country, with roughly 1,500 to 2,000 employees in each of those locations. And what we have found over time is, and in many cases we're in smaller communities, and it limits our ability to attract the talent for some of the key roles we need going forward. And so what we decided is to say, let's search out some locations where we feel like we can grow, we can achieve scale, we can leverage larger communities for the talent that they bring. And so North Texas was one of those locations for us. And for us, it also created an opportunity to philosophically shift the feel and look of work. And so, as David mentioned, leveraging the amenities that would be available and the work environment that's much more collaborative and maybe more appealing to the millennial workforce. And so this was an opportunity to reframe our footprint as an organization in terms of where our people exist, but also change the look of and feel of the work environment. And that's an important element of that. And I think as we've gone through this process, one of the surprises that people have found is that not only do I get to move to a new, vibrant community, but the work environment itself, the work may be similar, the work environment is stimulating and enjoyable. And so that's one of the key objectives that we were trying to achieve.
I want to add one point. From the real estate standpoint, State Farm signed a long-term lease for 1.5 million square feet, and they subsequently added another 500,000 feet, which just last month we completed, and they're now occupying the building. But as part of the agreement that we had to take 100% of the risk to provide State Farm between 500 and 1,000 multifamily units, and also 75,000 square feet of restaurants that were owned and operated by third parties, because they felt like the normal old company cafeteria was a thing of the past, and they felt like the employee base needed to have the ability to run into executives and have the ability to really create a career path for themselves. Right. So mission accomplished. What happened though, you always say, is it the cart or the horse? Once we got the lease done with State Farm and the commitment that they had to load roughly 6,000 employees, it was easy to go out and get the restaurants and the service shops that were necessary to come in. And so that was a 100% risk that we had. I will tell you, as you look backwards, since you're about a year before Toyota and JPMorgan at Legacy West, that the multifamily is literally 100% occupied, and we have another 500 underway, and all of the peripheral sites, Trammell Crow Residential, Zale Corson, that's another 1,000 units. So the good news for State Farm is all of those amenities that they bargained for have been delivered, which is making everybody's life a lot better. Yeah. The other thing that came in, which is interesting, is Whole Foods saw the demographics of the people that State Farm were bringing, plus Raytheon, and they have built and completed a store that was actually developed by Regency Centers out of Jacksonville. And they've done an incredible job, and they're 100% leased. So, you know, field of dreams, you know, you build it, but you actually have to occupy it, and then they show up. So, Cheryl?
Well, it's interesting because when you're on a project like this, you think you are the only one going through it. And I realize as I'm sitting here with you guys that there's others doing the same thing. But for us at Toyota, it was about you know, bringing our headquarters together. And 60 years ago, we started our company in the United States. We came to the United States to be an importer of vehicles in the West Coast. Since that time, we kind of created all these different multiple affiliates. We had the sales and marketing group in California, we had the manufacturing in Kentucky, and we had a corporate office in New York. And so our global president, Akio Toyoda, had challenged our leadership to really, you know, how can we position ourselves to be successful for the next 50 years? And that's kind of our long-term view. And so our leadership felt that in order to inspire the collaboration that Rod is talking about, to get our team members to think a little differently, maybe be innovative and come together as one Toyota, which is what we're trying to do, we thought moving our base and our headquarters to North Texas would help us to achieve that goal. And I think what I'm seeing already, we have a temporary office, as I said, about 1,100 people here. We're already seeing the fruits of coming together and pulling our sales and manufacturing together and being able to work more as one Toyota and moving forward that way.
Roger, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, while I was sitting here, what was really bothering me is that it was 17-14, not 21-17. I figure most of you don't care, but some of you probably Googled it and said Staubach lost it, but it was 17-14. I kept thinking,
I think we have to get back to
1975, I know. Cheryl, you ruined my whole... But the other day I had a chance to speak to the young professionals, and this was the millennial group, and I used the word, I said, it's a real pleasure to be speaking to you millennials. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. I got a couple boos from the audience, but the millennials, I guess out of college, up to 35 are part of our life. They're fantastic. They got energy. They got all great ideas. And what is some of the things we talked about is we thought would be interesting is that how do you attract and retain the new millennial employees? And I guess that's really a big part of what you're doing today is making sure that the millennials are motivated and you want to hire them.
That's true.
So maybe,
You want me
Cheryl,
to start?
you could, yeah.
Sure. Well, you know, as you look at it, there's probably about 80 million millennials, which makes them the largest group that's in the workforce today. And for us in the car industry, they're 28%, they bought 28% of the new vehicles in 2015. So for us, it's important to know what they want. But I would say that as we've gone forward to think about our campus, we did focus groups, we did external benchmarking to find out, it was really about what were those emerging behaviors that all of the generations wanted. So the millennials are maybe leading the way in it, but it's also about how do you satisfy the Gen X, the baby boomers, and then eventually that Gen Z that's coming next, which will be a whole different group. And what we found is that they want to collaborate more. They want the technology, they expect the technology. I think that they want a company that has very similar values to what they have. You know, they want companies that are reaching out and working with communities. And they want to be inspired at work. They want careers that matter. And so as we're looking at how do we build this campus, and I think Rod and David, you both mentioned it, we're building spaces that team members can collaborate together and work differently across the company. So instead of, and I always tell this to our leadership team, is instead of the person needing to be at their desk for 8 hours a day, they can get up and they can find a place on our campus where they can work differently. And the idea being that that inspires a little bit more inspiration. It might inspire them to think differently. They also, do want a mixed use and somewhere where they can go and after work and meet up, because they are about collaboration. They're about getting together, but they also want to be in a company that really gives back to the community, which is important for us. So that's kind of where we're looking at it from our campus and from the millennials.
Cheryl, I agree with your perspectives, and I think we're sharing some similar experiences as we travel this road, and certainly we don't carve out millennials because we want to be a preferred employer for all the associates that are available in the workplace, but we know that there are preferences that they bring, and I have 3 millennials in my household that they're out of my home now, but continuously remind me of what their expectations are. And so I think what we're finding is there are some things that we've done with our location here in North Texas that meet the expectations of millennials, but our broad employee base are enjoying that same thing. And it gets to what you mentioned, Cheryl, about this collaborative workspace. We know millennials don't like being stuck in a cube for 8 hours, a 6x6 cube for 8 hours, right? So you still have to have cubes, but having workspaces that allow people to get out and work collaboratively with their peers, to get out and enjoy different kinds of workspaces, work experiences. It gets to the amenities Steve mentioned, the opportunity to go and find different places to hang out and have coffee, and those things that are part of that collaborative existence. And so the workspaces that we've created here in North Texas allow that. What we're finding is all the employees love it. And so whether they're a millennial or not, it increases the engagement of our employee group. And I think the other component is that as the largest insurer in North America for the P&C part of the business, our goal is to help people recover from the unexpected things that might happen in their lives. One of the things that we know millennials really focus on is making sure that the work they do is important. And to your point, Cheryl, the purpose part of what they're there for. And so what we've learned as we've gone through this process of changing the work environment is you have to connect that to the stories that you're telling about why you exist as an organization too. And it gets to that employee value proposition and the fact that we exist to help people. And so you connect that, your mission as an organization, with the facilities and how you engage people in the work environment, then you have a powerful story to tell.
Yeah. If I can interrupt, so Rod and I, we were talking about, they came before us, as you said, Steve, about a year. So we did a go-see with our architects and our designers of State Farm, because they were starting to put in some of the same type of furniture and have the same mindset. So it was great to be able to go and see what they were doing and then translate it back for Toyota, right? I mean, State Farm had theirs, but we had come up with the concept we'd do 50% workspace, and I think you're close to this, 50% collaborative space. Right. So that's what the campus is based on. But it was really helpful to be able to go and see kind of what we call Genchi Gambutsu at State Farm and get some ideas.
I can't add much more, I should say, than what Rod and Cheryl said about millennials. What I would say, particularly since there are a lot of architects in the audience, is that the millennials expect more, I think, than we did. Certainly when I entered the workforce, I was thrilled to get a yellow pad and a couple of pencils and a chair. The millennials have a quite different expectation, particularly about their built environment. But what I find curious is, if you're an architect and you're old like me, many of the spaces that are being built today, which are kind of 50 or 60% seating and 40 or 50% collaborative areas, these were conceived in the 90s. In 1999, before the first tech bubble burst, I can remember at Morgan Stanley building spaces very similar to the ones that we're building today at Legacy West. The issue then was the technology was not ready yet. You couldn't really work, you couldn't enable the work environment, and the people themselves were not comfortable or facile working the technology and the environment. Now the millennials sort of come right out of college campuses. They're used to big centers, and they can take advantage of the space. So I think it's just the architecture and the aesthetic and the idea behind a progressive workplace is now caught up to the generation that can actually use it and the technology that can enable it.
Yeah.
You know, one word that we hear a lot is the percentage of me space versus we space. Mm-hmm. And what we've noticed through these large projects, each company has a really strong opinion to make the space really collaborative and to make it where employees feel like they have the ability to move around and not, sit in a, enclosed wall office, because it's not only part of their personality, but it also makes them feel like they have the ability to learn from peers. Right. And also create a career path for themselves at the company. One comment I would like to make, and I think everybody can appreciate this, we did not on purpose bring people that have a lot to do with both real estate and HR. HR, previously, if you went back, say, 10 years, when we would make a proposal for a new facility, HR was in the room, but they weren't on top of what we would call the decision stool. It was usually corporate real estate, finance, and IT, and HR was in the mix. Over the last few years, certainly after the recession, as we have come back, we have noticed that there is really a focus on employees, and there's what we would call a war for great talent. And as a result, a lot of the drivers of these new facilities are to put employees in a place where they have the optimal opportunity for recruitment and also to retain them once they arrive. JLL, all the big tenant rep firms truly understand the HR component. One thing I think you all would like to know is that when we interviewed to be the developer for all three of these incredible companies, for State Farm and for Toyota, we were not allowed to know. It was confidential as to who they were, and that they had no name tags. They had code names, but we did not know. And they also told us we were prohibited in the meeting, which was a roughly an hour and a half presentation, from asking too many questions about them. But thankfully, they both occurred right after lunch, and they had a little bit of a break, and so I was lucky, and I got to circle the table one time for both State Farm and Toyota and ask the people that were in the meetings what they did, not what their company was about, but what role they were from and involved in. And that in both of them, there were roughly 12 to 15 people in both of those presentations, and clearly 80% was HR and administrative and really productive operational people. And what that meant to me was it really wasn't about talking about economics or what lease rates were. It was talking about optimal space, the best price per square foot, and then allowing you guys to, on an open book basis, drive how the development occurred. So is there anything you all would like to add to that as it relates to how HR is such a meaningful component of your all's process today? Is that anything?
I'll jump in, Steve. I think you've summarized it well, and I think David has referenced the fact that the most important equation in all of this was about the people, and so we certainly felt that way. And so we're very interested in understanding the environments that our people will be in and whether they can be as productive as possible and helping the organization achieve their goals. And so, there's a lot of work up front as we talked about potential sites to assess everything from cost of living to cost of labor to the educational system to the tax system to the transportation systems and the accessibility. And so, all those factors, and I know all of us, looked at a number of potential cities, and North Texas scores very well. And again, we had history in this area of the country as well. And so, So HR had a key role because at the end of the day, it's the people that make this thing work for us. So.
Roger, you want to?
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and we put it down as probably a good question, is on mixed-use developments, Legacy West and City Line, which are in the mixed-use atmosphere. What are maybe the top 3 or 4 amenities or features that are a must-have that you really want to have for your company in that kind of atmosphere? And
Sure. Roger,
Rod, you want to start?
Go ahead, Rod.
Well, yeah, for us, I think there were a few key things in terms of amenities. Certainly, Steve's mentioned those. We wanted a different kind of environment, kind of what we're calling the live, work, play kind of a scenario, where people could actually, and this is another thing that you hear from the millennial workforce, is this idea that there's not separation necessarily, there's not compartmentalization in their lives, and so we wanted the opportunity for our employees to actually experience this work, live, play scenario. So having amenities like lots of restaurant choices, being able to live right by our property if they choose to, the shopping, the entertainment, and so all of those were really critical amenities. I'd say another piece that has been important for us at State Farm, for all 3 of our hub sites, is we've located it right on a mass transit rail line. And so that's been an important amenity for us because we know that again, a millennial attribute is they leverage mass transit and in the cities that we're at. And so we wanted to provide that as an option to minimize the transportation pressures that some of our cities are feeling. So,
I think for us, we're not located like you right on the mixed-use development, but right next to it. And we, as Steve had said earlier, I think with State Farm was a little different. We knew you were thinking about building that, and our hope was that you guys would be building that mixed use next to us, the whole live, work, play, because we knew we couldn't have it on campus, not with vehicles coming and going because we're a car company, but we wanted the ability for our team members to be able to go over at lunchtime and to supplement some of the campus features that we have. We'll have a fitness center and a health center, but we also know there's lots of families, they want to get together right after work. As you said, it's not about work-life balance with the millennials especially, it's more about it's all together. It's I want to work a little, I want to play a little, and I want to be close to where I'm living. And so having some, and one of the things that we've heard, and I think when the Legacy West is built out, there will be a number of different housing options. We hear a lot, especially from our California folks, is they want to live close to the office. And so I think having those different housing options is important for our team members, as well as dining or even wellness, supplementing with whether it's fitness, whether it's spas, similar to what we're seeing at the shops at Legacy. So for us, it was really about that.
So I just add, it's really, for us, it was the urban feel of Legacy West. It is a live, work, play community. It's already built so easy for us to leverage. And I think, if you're in a suburban office park right now that was built 25 years ago, it feels very different than Legacy West. Legacy West is more or less about animation and activation. And we think that makes a happier, more productive workforce.
One thing that I would add to what you all wanted was really accessible, quick health care, because if you have the number of employees, teammates that you all will have, to come in before work, to come in during lunch, and to get a prescription if you've got a problem. Most of the large healthcare groups have located either in City Line or Legacy. That's one. And then the second was the involvement that State Farm had, for one, in making certain that there were enough affordable multifamily units. So the sizing of those, the single bedroom units were a little smaller, but they were affordable on a monthly basis, and that was really important to at least give your employees the opportunity to do. I think really there's probably only one more question, and is there anything you all individually, you've made these incredible commitments to North Texas, is there anything that you would like to share with everybody before we open it up to some questions from the floor. We have roughly 10 minutes. Anything you all want to add?
Anything you want to? Who you can vote for, Hillary or Donald?
Sure. I'm not going to touch that, but
We'll go there.
the one thing I would say is this, and I would like to, I think we're probably all going to say it, give a big shout out to our partners.
Yes.
We've had a great experience here, from advisors to brokers to developers to architects and engineers to the contractors. This is just a great place to do business in Dallas. And I wanted just to make sure we said we're up here with two great individuals, terrific businessmen, great Americans who've done a great job for us at JPMorgan. So appreciate it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say very similar. As we've come together as one Toyota, for us, it's all about people. So we've said that many times. And for Toyota, it really was about how do we make sure that our team members are taken care of as we're making this big move. And it started with JLL, KDC, Corrigan, our architects, and then Austin Commercial doing a fantastic job for us. But I also want to just call out the local communities, the local business leaders, the City of Dallas, the Dallas Chamber, the City of Plano, and Mayor LaRoseliere, I got it out, will like it that I'm calling him out. But when I say that, I say it because our team members have felt so welcome here. They have, my biggest concern, especially as the head of HR, is our team members going to do okay here? Are they going to stay? Are they going to, get involved in the communities? And it's been just tremendous to see how welcoming not only the community leaders were, the business leaders, which said, no, we welcome all these businesses. We want that to happen. But what I hear from my team members is that their kids are getting involved in school. They're happy in school. They're getting involved in all of the sports activities. I had one team member that had a band. She's in the band already in Prosper. And that's what, for me, is what this is all about. It's about our team members. It's about taking care of them. And it's really creating that environment where they can thrive both professionally and personally. And I just want to say thank you to our partners, as well as to the North Texas community for being so welcoming.
You've both said that so well. I don't want to continue to build on that. Just one maybe other comment, and that gets back to our development partners in this process. Certainly when you take on something as big as City Line, we're not experienced in that kind of an undertaking. But what's important for us as an organization is that we bring a perspective to the table in terms of what we want to achieve, our vision for that, what kind of employment environment we're trying to create. And I think the thing that we found with our development partners in this process is they not only helped us achieve that vision, they helped us see some things that we weren't even within the scope of our imagination. And so I think that's one of the things that we feel so good about, and that this was such a successful effort for us, because our developers saw what we were trying to achieve, but help us even take it to the next level. And to Steve's team and all that they helped us accomplish, we're really appreciative. So.
One comment I want to add, which I think is important, especially from a maybe United States perspective. We do a lot of work pretty much throughout the West, Southwest, and Southeast. And the city of Plano and the city of Richardson both made certain that they had dedicated plan expediters, and they're still in place on all three of the projects, number one. And then number two, Texas, like a lot of states, is a right-to-work state, and the labor market's competitive, and that what you all should like to know is that when we signed the lease with State Farm and signed our development agreement with Toyota and JPMorgan, the schedules to complete and have over 1 million to 2 million square feet totally completed is in the 21 to 23 month range. So when you compare that to other areas, I'm sure that you can achieve it in a lot of places. However, it has surprised all of us. And in the case of two of those projects, JLL is doing a great job of helping the tenants, and we're just making certain that we perform. And they also put incentives and also liquidated damages in if we don't make those schedules and hit those budgets. So we're very motivated. But I do want you to know that when we were sitting with both of all three companies, David said, here's when I have to be in. And we then had to get all of our troops rallied to make certain that we could do that. And it is not exactly a stress-free environment, trust me. Okay, so we have time for maybe a couple of questions. If anybody would like to ask any of our panelists a question.
Good, we can see.
Yeah, good morning. I'm glad you mentioned affordable housing. The biggest issue that we have in a lot of the mixed-use developments that we're designing is creating housing affordably and also creating housing for families. I guess the big question is how? Was there any specifics that you guys looked into as far as to being able to provide that?
I would tell you that once the announcement was made that the commitment from all three of these companies was occurring, the single family and affordable housing groups swarmed the areas around the sites and have, if you looked at the amount of that type of activity that is underway in close proximity to both sites, it's good. And right now, I think everybody knows the amount of multifamily development that's occurring in Dallas and Tarrant County, but most of it, or a lot of it, is in close proximity to take advantage of all the in-migration of the folks that are coming in. So we didn't actually do that because we didn't have enough land to accomplish that, so it's all happening in sort of a ring around both the projects.
You know, Steve, on the, say in Legacy, that they had the high-rise condo project, and then we have the mid-rise there, and then the multifamily. So there's a choice there, which pretty darn good choice actually between the three different types of projects there. So
Right.
Good morning, Steve and Roger. Thank you very much for putting this panel together. My question is specifically for Rod. You had two other development projects that were fairly significant going on at the same time as City Line in Atlanta and Phoenix. Can you talk a little bit about those projects and the challenges and the differences between those projects and City Line and just kind of compare them?
Sure. Well, and each region of the country brings its own challenges, and just from a construction perspective, each of those is unique. In Atlanta, we have a lot less property. We're squeezing buildings into a smaller space, and so that brings some interesting dimensions. So Atlanta, the biggest challenges for our employees in that location is the traffic. And so I'd say what we're spending a lot of time talking with the local government about how do we help positively impact the flow of traffic, knowing that traffic congestion is already a challenge, knowing that we're squeezed into a much smaller acreage. How do we make that a benefit for both our employees coming to and from work and to the local community who are concerned about the number of cars we're going to be putting out on the streets? And so that's a big focus in that area. Tempe, for us, interestingly, we have a beautiful property there along the lakefront. Our bigger challenge there has been more on the employment side of the equation. So more challenges in attracting and getting attention around the employment opportunities that are in that marketplace. And so we're having to take on a different strategy in terms of how do we build up the workforce in that location. So it's interesting how each part of the country brings those different challenges.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
You all talked a lot about building these campuses to really recruit and retain talent. Part of the puzzle, though, that so many companies are doing much better today is the programming piece outside of just the physical space to be able to socialize or educate, really start to get some company loyalty. Can you talk about what you're doing in addition to the real estate from a programming piece to retain?
So you want to start, Cheryl?
Go ahead.
Since it's real estate, it's more real estate question in some ways. So I think a lot of that starts with the entire employee experience. That starts for us with training. So we'll have specialized training centers It starts with places like these auditoriums where you can congregate and you can enculturate folks. It involves the branding, or I should really say the expression of your brand, your particular brand in the built environment. So some of that is in the way you fit spaces out, and we have our own standards that we roll out all over the country that kind of enhance and support the brand. Some of it is in the amenities that you have, the way you design your cafeterias or pantries and your wellness facilities. It's really how you care and cater for your employees, not just millennials, but the entire workforce. In Legacy West, what we did, we studied some of the best, I'd call them street thoroughfares in the world, and we more or less copied the distance between buildings at Rockefeller Center, where Channel Gardens is, and Rockefeller Center, you may be familiar with it, to try to create more activation, more animation, and then create a streetscape, sort of internal retail uses where people could have casual collaboration, collision. So I think that's what you mean by programming. Cheryl, maybe you want to expound on that?
What I would say is, so that's clearly the real estate side of that. But from a human resources or a people side of it, what we're finding we're doing is, you had mentioned employer branding. So what we're trying to create is, what is that working experience or that team member experience that we want to create? And for us, it's all about challenging what's possible. So we talked about the millennials wanting that, careers that matter. They want to be challenged. They want to be in an environment where they can be innovative. And so for us, it's all about, what are our policies? Changing some of our policies so that they're not rules that you have to do certain things, but they're really about freeing it up and allowing team members to be a little bit more empowered. And it's also about, as you said, the facilities, but it's also, we're looking at our performance management systems. We're looking at everything from a human resource perspective that will support what we're doing from a facilities perspective. And I think maybe that is also what you were getting to, is they have to work together, because as we've set up here, it's about the people. And if if I can just, I'll go on a little bit here. We talked about HR being at the table. It's so critical because, if it is about the people, the buildings will look great. But if you're not tuned in to what do your team members want, what are those policies, what are those things you have to do as a company, and to what Rod had said earlier, tie it to your values, tie it to your culture, and make sure you're living it every day. I think that's what's going to really make this work and make it come together.
Yeah. Our time is up, and we could, I think, talk all day long. I'm going to be here the next 2 or 3 days, so if I can bump into anybody, I'd love to. But thank you all very much for your time and attention, and we hope that you have an incredible ULI while you're here in Dallas. Thank you all very much.